Hi, everybody. Dan Illman and Mike Beer, the DRF race of the day for Friday, October the 23rd is race number 9 at Keeneland. Let's throw up the field for a pretty salty allowance race going 1 mile on the turf, as usual at Keeneland. We've got a big field of competitive horses, and you can download free formulator past performances for this race on the Race of the Day event page at DRF.com. Access them, handicap along with us. Mike, let's take this field in post position order, beginning with the number 2, Julia's Ready, who might have been compromised a little bit by a moderate pace last time out at Churchill Downs. A winner 2 starts back at Ellis. I wonder if she is just a little bit maybe beneath the top contenders in terms of class.
Yeah, I kind of thought that she was. I mean, she is a big price on the morning line, obviously. That sort of suggests that she's going to have to just run a little bit better than she's been running to compete with these horses. Maybe you're right. Maybe that last race compromised her running style a little bit. But I don't even know, Dan, if she gets a perfect trip in this race, if she's fast enough to win.
Now, a horse that can make her own trip, she has that sort of tactical speed, is right next door. Post position 2, number 3, Speedy Solution. It was just a little bit perhaps overmatched last time out in the One Dreamer Stakes. It was a race where the 5th place finisher, Varenka, came back to run second in the Grade 3 Gallarette with an 87 buyer. 2 starts back, she was able to make the lead at Keeneland, going 1 mile and 3/16 and took him gate to wire. I think she's going to sit a nice trip here.
She has that kind of tactical speed where I do think she can get a good trip in here. She earned a 90 buyer for that win over this turf course 2 starts back. I don't know, Dan. I just didn't really love that performance from her. Not that she did anything wrong, but just had the easiest time in the world clearing to the lead early in there, controlled the pace the entire way, and held on to the finish. I thought she ran fine, but I wasn't blown away by it. And, last time, better field or not, she didn't really do a lot of running that I could see. The short comment says she got shuffled and came again. If that happened, I didn't see it, Dan. I just thought she got a pretty good trip and wasn't good enough.
Although Lady Lawyer is stretching out in distance, she has won at a mile overseas on a synthetic surface, and she's exiting a race at Kentucky Downs going 6.5. And I think those 6.5 furlong races at Kentucky Downs play a little bit longer, especially on testing ground. I thought Joel Rosario did everything he could with Lady Lawyer in that tough lady sprint last time out. He dropped in on the turn when it looked like he was going to lose some ground. He found the horse that he had to follow, the horse to beat, got Stormy. He followed her. He just couldn't kick with her. It was a solid enough performance, and the race has come back live.
Yeah, and there's no disgrace in not being able to kick on with Got Stormy. She's a really good horse. This horse ran fine last time, I thought, all things considered, and I do think the mile should really work for her. I know she's been effective sprinting in her first 2 starts over here. And she ran well in both of those races, I thought. But I always felt like maybe a little more ground would work to her favor. And she gets it here. I think she's a major player in this race.
Third start with the long layoff might help the 5, My Gal Betty, who finished 3rd last time out in an optional claiming race. I thought she ran okay there. Now, her connections have been sort of interested in keeping her sprinting for the majority of her career, but she is graded stakes place going 1 mile. I think with the right setup, she can get this trip, and I think she's rounding back into a good form for Eddie Keneally. She's got a little bit of price potential.
I thought she ran pretty well last time. I do think she's an interesting horse at a price. We'll see what she goes off then. 8-1 on the line seems fair to me. I don't know if I would go too much shorter than that, but she could actually go higher than that come post time.
Big price on the 6, Aji's Kate on the morning line. This horse just went gate to wire last time out at Arlington Park. 4th place finisher of that race did successfully transfer the form to Churchill Downs, winning a 2X with an 83 buyer. This filly to me is versatile, but I do believe she's at her best when she's able to make an easy lead, and I'm not sure that's going to be the case here.
Yeah, I know that she has speed, and maybe it will lead to a good trip for her, Dan. I just didn't think she was good enough to beat this field.
I think it's fair to say you can draw a line through the number 7 Complicit's most recent race. It was the Grade 2 Glens Falls. They tried to stretch her way out in distance and step her way up in class, and she just isn't ready for the Civil Unions of the world, who not only did Civil Union win the Glens Falls, she came back to make it 4 in a row by taking the Grade 1 Flower Bowl with a 97 buyer. You got to draw a line through that race. You've got a couple of nice middle distance performances, 2 and 3 back.
Yeah, I guess the only problem with Complicit, aside from the fact that she's a 6-year-old who's only managed 15 starts so far, so she does have some issues. It's just that she doesn't really win races, Dan. That was the problem that I had with her when Chad Brown had her. I was always a fan of this horse, but it just felt like she could never quite get there when the money was on the line. I actually feel like she's held her form very well for these new connections since they've taken over this year. It seems like she's every bit as good as she used to be. but she never wins. I want to use her because she's going to be a price in this race, but I'll probably just mostly use her underneath.
Lessons from Avery, the number 8, overcame a long layoff to win last time out with a career 90 buyer speed figure, career best 90 buyer. Now, Lessons from Avery got a nice pace set up in that race. It really quickened up the pace. The middle part, Lessons from Avery was far back. She came with a big run. She pulled off a 73-1 upset, but she did beat 3 next out winners. The third place finisher coming back to win a 2X with a 90, and then running second in a stake at Saratoga with a 92 buyer.
That race has actually turned out to be pretty good. It did sort of feel like this horse took advantage to pull off that big upset in that race. But listen, it's not like it's the only good race she's ever run in her life. She has races on the go back that suggest she could go with this field, and she's going to be a price once again.
Clara Peters might very well be the horse to beat along with Lady Lawyer. They're your 2 morning line favorites. She beat Lady Lawyer on the square, 3 starts back, going 7 on the Widener at Belmont. Last time out, I just don't think that race really set up for her, that optional claimer at Saratoga, Mike. She ran into Blowout and Sweet By and By, horses that came back to run second and third in the Grade 3 Noble Damsel with Stereo 96 buyers. And those 2 horses were just up close to the pace in that optional claimer, and Clara Peters couldn't make a dent late.
Yeah, that was a real problem for her last time. The pace just really held together in front of her. And when you go back and watch the replay, she was trying really hard through the stretch, Dan. It just wasn't that kind of a race. It wasn't the kind of race where you could take back, try and save some ground, and then try and gain on everybody through the stretch. They were not coming back for her. I actually felt like her race 2 back in the De La Rose was another good performance where she got into a little bit of traffic through the stretch. And that was a good field she was facing. She just makes a ton of sense in this race.
It's nice to see the 10 Winter Sunset back in the entries. She's got some class and some ability, and considering her pedigree, they very easily could have retired this multiple stakes winner to be a very valuable broodmare, but they're bringing her back at the age of 4. Last year, she ran in the Valley View at Keeneland. It was one of her uncharacteristically bad races. She didn't get hurt in that race. They wanted to run her at Churchill Downs in November of 2019. She scratched, and it's taken her just a long time to get back to the races. Now she's got to face older horses off a very long layoff.
The layoff would be the real concern. She, to me anyway, is clearly good enough to beat this field if she comes back ready. I don't know how fair it is to really expect her to come back firing after over a year on the sidelines. But I think it's pretty clear that if she runs one of her good races or perhaps takes a step forward, this is a field she could beat.
Give the 11 Summer in Saratoga some pace, and she can come with a late kick, as she did in this race we're about to watch, her most recent start at Kentucky Downs. She has now won 3 out of her last 4 races. You see her in the blue cap. She's on the far, far outside, and she's going to come with a good, long, sustained run to just get up in the shadow of the wire. Summer in Saratoga, she's kind of found that plateau, though, Mike. 82 on the buyer scale, and she's going to have to improve as she steps up in class.
It does feel like she's going to have to take a step forward in this race. Maybe she can do it. She's still relatively lightly raced as a 4-year-old. I'm a little bothered by this race, Dan, only because of the fact that Sorrentina Lemon, the horse that she just nosed out there in the photo, came back at Belmont out of that race as the favorite and really did not run well at all a couple of weeks ago. Listen, she's in good form right now. I could use her at the price she is on the morning line. If nothing else, Dan, out of that July 11th race at Keeneland that Speedy Solution won, I'd rather have this horse than Speedy Solution.
Oh, So Terrible's last race, I think, is a throwout. They ran her sprinting on synthetic, and I just don't think that's her game. Her prior 2 starts on turf going middle distances were okay, although she was beaten as the favorite by Aji's Kate 2 starts back. And I know Aji's Kate had the best part of the race that day, setting the easy fractions, but I thought Oh So Terrible had every chance to get her.
Yeah, I didn't like that loss, and I didn't like her loss prior to that either. Yeah, I know she was off the layoff 3 starts back, but I didn't like that loss, and I didn't like that she got beat 2 starts back as the favorite.
High Regard completes this field. She was a graded stakes placed runner on dirt as a 2-year-old. She's done most of her damage on dirt, and she's going to have to deal with a tough outside post position on a surface where she might not be at her best.
It feels like she's not. I mean, they've run her on turf 3 times in her career, all 3 of them in stakes races. So if nothing else, maybe they're finally running her in the right kind of race on this surface. But man, there's just really no upside to be had with this horse either. And so far, she doesn't look a turf horse.
Several horses mired on the also eligible list could make some noise, including Traipsing, who is the first horse on the AE list. But we'll take a look at our top selections from the horses in the body of the race. We like the horses that are going to get bet just different ones. You like Clara Peters. I like Lady Lawyer. Clara Peters should just get a better setup this time around. I like her a little bit more at 7/8 than a mile, but I think she gets the mile, no problem.
I think she'll get the mile too. And I just feel like in each of her last 2 races, she was just, compromised both times against better horses. So I just slightly preferred her to Lady Lawyer, but I think they're the 2 right horses.
Lady Lawyer, I think, is going to appreciate getting back out to a mile. She hasn't had a chance to do it in the States. And last time out, she was just in a little bit too tough against Scott Stormy. 4, 8, 9, and 3 for me. 9, 11, 4, 7 for Mike. It's the Friday DRF race of the day. Race 9 at Keeneland has an approximate post of 5:30 Eastern. Best of luck.